Roxo Media House.
The ball under 5 to get the last shot.
5-game losing streak. Their last win on January 7th. Davis fires, rims off, and Wells pulls it in. A chance for TCU, floats it, no good, and we're going to overtime.
You are in the State of the Frogs with head coach Jamie Dixon. Brought to you by Railhead Smokehouse, Hub International, Dave's Hot Chicken, by Texas Health Resources, the Flying T Club, and by Cadillac. Now with the head coach, here is the voice of the Frogs, Brian Estridge.
State of the Frogs happens right now with the head coach Jamie Dixon alongside, talking a little TCU basketball with you here today. Horned Frogs set for a couple of more Big 12 matchups coming up here shortly. We'll preview those a little bit later on. Quick glance back, though. I tell you what, that Oklahoma game last week, Coach. What a performance by your group, and you were shorthanded in that one without Eddie Lampkin.
Yeah, no, we got out and guarded, and that's what we wanted to do, and that's a very good team, as we know, Oklahoma. But we just from the start guarded, solid, really loaded up, as we like to say, team defense, and then execution on the offensive end, got out and ran with the turnovers that we were able to force. And it was just a great performance and a great crowd. What an atmosphere.
Yeah, it really was. A student record there as far as attendance is concerned. One of the things that you talked about was, folks are going to focus on the 27-point differential and think it was all about the offense, but you mentioned it there. It got started with the defense.
Yeah, we did. I don't think they scored in the first 4 minutes, and the crowd was standing the entire time. I think they were about ready to sit down a little bit, but it's great to see so many students, like you said, and the defense we're number one in defense in the Big 12 in conference play, and so that's got to be our calling card. Yeah, I know there's something about the transition, but the defense gets our transition going.
And then one thing that you have done a really good job of, and kind of forced to at this point, unfortunately, is playing guys, keeping that rotation moving. I thought that Oklahoma game was a perfect example of everyone contributing.
Yeah, no, I think that was the game we played 11 guys, and they were all in there and early, and that's I think the strength of our team. Obviously, we've had some challenges with that, not being able to do that all the time, probably more than most, but it prepares you for other opportunities when you don't have guys, and they've already been in the fire a little bit, and they see in their role. We try to tell them their role doesn't change much. You just got to do what you do and do it well, and you don't have to become a different player because somebody's out. And we're going to be doing that for a little bit here coming up.
Yeah, you talked about Oklahoma too. You gave us a preview when you said they reduce the number of possessions. They'll slow it down a little bit late into the shot clock. I thought your team, one, was patient when they had to be and handled that, but two, also forced the tempo with their defense.
Yeah, we got the transition going, and usually on turnovers and some missed shots, but they're going to be back some of the time, or it's not going to be clean, and you got to be able to grind it out too at the same time. And that's, as you said, we got layups at the end of possessions. We got good shots at the end of possessions, and that's what you want to be able to do. So we're very good in transition. There's no question, but you got to still score points in the half court. I mean, we're the best in the country in getting fast break points, but you still got to get another 2/3 of your points the other way on the half court.
You got a West Virginia team coming into town tonight, but one of the things you told us after that Mississippi State game, the similarities between those two teams. Maybe not quite size-wise, but physical nature, style of play, very similar.
Yeah, I thought they're very similar. We told that to our guys coming in, and we've told it all week long. So big, strong, old, two of the real teams that really try to get the ball inside in the Power Five. I mean, they're trying to get the ball inside. That is really their offense. And they've got older 50-year guys at those positions, and they want to get the ball inside, and we've got to recognize that, but also get the rebounding done.
Let's talk about that Mississippi State game. It goes to overtime. You were shorthanded, no Eddie Lampkin, no Rondell Walker. You end up losing Mike Miles after the first 4 minutes. I know we're going to say you want to win that game, but I thought your team showed a lot of guts, Coach.
It did, and I was disappointed in some things, and I talked to the team afterwards, but I also pointed out that we fought, and we competed, we battled back. We're a confident group. Most teams might have shut down a little bit, but we found ways and put ourselves in position to win the game. We had a lead with 4 minutes left, 4-point lead, and really our defense broke down. We didn't get it done on gave up some open threes. They got the loose ball that turned into a three, and that was the difference. So, but as you said, we came back, we fought back. We had really our whole rotation changed almost overnight. with Rondell not knowing he was going to be out, not knowing Mike obviously was going to be out, and hoping that Eddie would have been back. But those are the situation we're in. So, but that happens. It's 3 guys at one time, probably a little unique, but we've got to find it, and hopefully it makes us better going down the road.
I thought Tolu Smith was that. I mean, he looked like a pro, Coach. He's a big player.
Well, he's good, and he's old, and he's been around, and he's had some injuries over his career, but he's healthy all year long, and he's their best player, their leading scorer, and just gotten better each year.
Yeah, I thought that you went to some full court pressure in that ball game that I thought really forced the tempo a little bit.
A little bit, yeah. I think we were able to do it. I wish we would have done it a little bit more early. We didn't get in that situation, so we almost had to kind of force the situation a little bit. We weren't getting to the foul line, and we tried some things. We got hurt on a trap in the backcourt, turned into a layup the other way. We got to handle that better. But there was yes, we played hard. Yes, we did some things. Yes, we kept battling. But there were some breakdowns mentally that we got to cut down on, and we made that real clear.
I know you're always looking at teaching moments too. The other thing was you saw a lot of different defenses out of them that you had to be prepared for and you had to face.
Yeah, we've seen them once in a while, but we knew they were going to do it. They did exactly what we thought. We handled it pretty good. I thought the looks we got were what we needed to do, and also we saw the 1-3-1, we saw the 2-3. We knew we'd see the different press. It's a little different than our press, the 22, but not much, and we handled that well.
All right, tell me about Mike Miles and the fact that he goes down in that first 4 minutes of that game, essentially. I think it was 16-14 left. And it felt like, and this is a natural reaction, that for a while your team was a little shell-shocked. Is that true, you think?
I don't know. We just had to get some guys in. Maybe we missed some shots, but we were down to start in that game and just got off to a slow start. But they got off to a good start, and I didn't like our shot selection early, first couple possessions. So I don't know the exact timing of where we got shell shocked or didn't play well. But we didn't. You're not going to play 40 great minutes, and we didn't play great that first 4 minutes, and we had to. We had to play guards a lot of minutes. Obviously, I don't think Hade and Damien came out in the second half. That caught up with us, and especially on the defensive end, and we recognize that. But we've got Rondell back, and we'll have to make some adjustments going forward.
Yeah, now it's next man up, right? You got to step up, and
we got to, and we tried to recruit depth, and everybody tell you how you're going to play all these guys, and here we are. We got 7-point players in a game, and we could have done it better. Maybe I talked about maybe we played Sully a little bit more. That would have given some other guys less minutes. That's something we kind of looked at too as well.
All right, we're going to talk about West Virginia and then Oklahoma State coming up here shortly. Right now, though, as you talked about your group this week, you got a Tuesday night game. This is a quick turn after a Saturday road game.
Well, I mean, you either got Tuesday or you got Wednesday generally, so it's a little quicker, but we'll have the day off going before Saturday's game. Okay. So, it's I like the league, how we do it. Everybody's playing on Saturday, and then obviously kind of Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday are kind of rotating around, but it is what it is. We went light on Sunday. Monday's a practice day for you as you get ready, but it's light. But we got some stuff done on Sunday I thought was important. We moved on to the next game, and that's what you got to do at the same time, address some things.
All right, speaking of the next game, got West Virginia tonight, Oklahoma State on Saturday. We'll talk about them when State of the Frogs continues. But first, Gerry Christopher is going to join us, the strength coach for the Horned Frogs. We'll find out what's happening on that front when we continue after this timeout.
The Hub Fort Worth family is a passionate, energetic team of insurance professionals that have the same common goal in mind: helping businesses and individuals protect their health, property, and financial well-being. Their objective is to maximize the options available to businesses, families, and individuals while helping you make the choices that suit each unique situation and challenge. Their clients look to them for guidance in navigating the cumbersome world of insurance and investments. Their experience and personal relationships combined with their creativity enables them to craft solutions that fit your specific circumstances. Their guiding principle is, don't tell me how much you know, just show me how much you care. Since their founding in 1966, they've enhanced their offerings to include a comprehensive range of services, including employee benefits, property and casualty, and personal lines insurance. Follow them and learn more on their social media pages. You can find them on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn at Hub Fort Worth.
State of the Frogs continues now here from the Flying T Club studios. We're going to the board here in a second with my man Bingo Mary. It's coming up a little bit later on. Gerry Christopher is going to stop by, strength and conditioning coach at TCU, plus Coach Dixon rejoins us as well. We'll preview the upcoming 2 opponents for the Frogs, West Virginia tonight, of course, and then Oklahoma State on Saturday. Right now, though, we got to talk a little defense. Yeah, we're doing defense with Bingo Merrick. All right, let's talk about how defenses have changed. Now with the motion offense, it is so prevalent. You see guys actually switching their man. They'll be in man-to-man. You might be guarding me, but at some point you're going to switch because there's been a screen and things like that. Tell me what's happening now in college basketball.
When you talk about defense being changed right in today's game, a lot of times, you see the guys, you play a lot of small ball. You know, you can see a Draymond Green playing the 5 position, so that's why defenses has to switch a lot of times. And I think with today's game, with the evolution of everything coming around, defenses has to be able to have schemes, and so switching a lot of times makes it harder for the offense to get a shot off.
All right, so now the ball screen is so prevalent, which means you've got your player coming over trying to screen his defensive man off of him, all right? And used to, you stayed with your player.
Exactly.
But now with the switch, the screener will actually, he'll screen his man, and then you'll have that guy who's supposed to be guarding you will switch on him defensively, right?
Exactly.
What's the advantage to that?
I think the advantage nowadays is when you switch like that and the big man doesn't have a just clear path to roll to the basket, because now guards are more athletic and they're actually stronger as well too. They're able to stand a big man up so he can't get that position on the block.
You mentioned roll. See, what we're getting back to, this is how it evolved. That's the pick and roll. And the pick and roll used to be so effective, especially in the NBA, but then it worked its way into the college game because of the way it was defended back then. Now switching it, it's not nearly as prevalent, is it?
It's really not. And then a lot of times you see big men now, they're picking and popping because you have stretch 4s more so than your traditional big man, your traditional 5 that rolls to the basket. A lot of guys are now popping out trying to shoot that 3. That
was bingo. So you set the screen, then you pop out, trying to knock down the 3-pointer if you get the ball back.
Exactly, and a lot of guys that are playing that wing position, that forward position, are really athletic. So that's when your skill set comes in. When you have a guard on you, either you're going to shoot over them, or you have the skill set to go in and break them down and try to get to the basket.
You know what's odd is in the Big 12 now, virtually everyone switches. Oklahoma didn't. Oklahoma doesn't really switch, and it was almost as if you had to prepare totally different for that. They like to back off of guys instead of switching defensively, and guys aren't used to that necessarily.
And I think with Oklahoma, they like to slow the game down.
Yeah.
So as far as when they're getting into the half court, they've slowed the game down so much that you don't really have time to get a shot off in your offense. So switching with them, they really don't need to, because you're already, the shot clock's already running down, so you have to get a shot up. They're boxing out, because when you're switching also, if you're not a good defensive rebounding team, it hurts you on the offensive glass a lot of times.
Okay, here's the other thing I see. I see some teams where not all 5 guys switch. Exactly. Is that true?
That is true too, because sometimes you may have a guy that cannot guard the perimeter as your forward or center. So you try to protect them on defense and not switch and keep them on the floor.
Not the case for TCU though.
Not at all, because 1 through 5, and I think TCU's big men, they do a great job of moving their feet. They're very athletic, and their agility shows on that defensive side.
All right, walk me through it. Tell me what we're seeing here now.
Okay, what we're going to do is we're going to do a pick and roll. Simple pick and roll. You have your forward here or center about to come up. The guard has the ball here. So as the big man is coming up to set the screen, as they set the screen right here, the big is also coming up as well. But as he screens, the guard is coming off. The big is switching here, and the guard is already here with the ball, so he's staying here. They're not giving space so that slip doesn't happen as well. So as the slip doesn't happen, the big tries to roll, but say you have a Damian Ball, say you have a Shahadi Wells, say you have a Mike Miles, they're standing the guy up, or they're giving the guy enough space to where he can't get to the basket because they're athletic enough, so the big can't get to the basket, okay? So he cannot roll down. So say you have your wings here. If this guy, the big rolls down, the other big tries to come up, but they're still here, and really you can't really come up because you're in the way of this guard here. So that's why you have to stay out of the way. So maybe you'll have an exchange here. So what TCU is good at, even the exchange right here, they're going to switch this and not give up any space, so you can have that cut to the basket. So say you have an X, say you have a Emmanuel Miller back here, and they're guarding the paint still, and they're athletic enough, or a Micah Peavy, that you can't throw this lob. If you've seen a lot of times, teams will try to think they can throw the lob over, and they'll either tip the ball or get the ball, and then that's that'll start their break, their transition as well.
And what happens after this roll? So this guy has stayed.
Right.
He's taking this big man. The big man's going to try to come down here.
Right.
When that happens, you've got defenders essentially walling off that lane. That limits the drive, doesn't it?
It definitely limits it, and it also causes frustration because if the big man can't roll out here, they tend to space out right here. Now you're in the space of this guy here when really you're supposed to be down and this guy is supposed to come up. So now when the big man can't roll and he spaces out here, the shot clock is running down. So now you have to throw up a shot real quick. TCU is good at challenging shots, what Coach Dixon preaches. So after the offense gets the shot up, they're getting the rebound as well because they're good at boxing out because they also are one of the top defensive teams, rebounding teams in the country as well.
Now where we see this break down, okay, is on this switch here. If this defender is late or the big man gets an advantage, this guy's got to help.
He's got to help.
And when he helps, this guy can go baseline, right?
Exactly. And see, when you get into a scramble, that's more like a scramble. And what TCU is also good at, let's say we have a breakdown right here. When the guy rolls to the basket, this guy takes over. TCU is so good at rolling and scrambling, they're talking on defense. So because you can guard all 5 positions. So say you have a breakdown on offense, on the defense, they're able to come back, rotate, and be in the rotation. And still as you're rotating, the offense, your offensive play is already broke down.
Right.
So now you're just trying to get a shot, and TCU's done a great job of making the skill set of the guys on the offensive end do things that they're really not comfortable doing.
All right, tell me this, Bingo. How is this different than how you guys played man-to-man back in your day under Billy? Is it different?
It's a little bit different because we really didn't switch all 5 positions because, normally with a Marquise Gaines or a Derek Davenport, they normally didn't switch on the guards too much unless the shot clock was running down.
Right.
Now, if the shot clock was running down, they would switch more so often than not because they were long enough to keep them in front for, say, a few seconds.
Yeah.
The good thing about TCU nowadays with Miller and Lampkin, they move their feet a lot and they work on this a lot. And so this helps them to be more effective on their defensive end.
So you were switching back then, just not as much.
Just not as much. You would switch more 1 through 3. I think that was more so the traditional type switches, and then you'd have your 4-man sometimes switch. But now, because you have maybe 1 through 4 or maybe even 1 through 5 that are maybe potential guards or wings, you can switch everything.
I'm going to flip it real quick. If you're on offense, if TCU's on offense and they're playing a team that switches, there is a way to get the right matchup too, right? And you have to know where that matchup is. If you can get that switch, then you have to take advantage of it, right?
Exactly, and I think the thing that TCU is great at is also on offensive end, you have a Micah Peavy, you have a Emmanuel Miller, they can post up.
Yes.
And so when they get that switch, they're working in the small area of the elbow all the way down, and they can get that shot off over the guards that they are shooting.
I was going to say, especially if the switch is a 6'2" point guard,
exactly.
all of a sudden you got the advantage.
Exactly.
I got it, man.
Great
Thank you,
job.
brother. Good stuff there.
All
All right. Bingo Merrick's our one-play breakdown here on State of the Frogs. Coming up next, Gerry Christopher is going to join us, strength and conditioning coach for the Frogs. Talk about a new way of going about things. You can tell it already in the body makeup of some of these players. We'll talk about that next when State of the Frogs continues in a moment.
Simply the best barbecue in Fort Worth. Dine in, catering, or drive-through. 2900 Montgomery, just off I-30. Remember, the best barbecue in Fort Worth is at Railhead Smokehouse.
For exclusive interviews and content on TCU recruits, subscribe now at frogstoday.com. Any sport, anytime. It's your source for all things TCU. Only on frogstoday.com.
Texas-based Happy Water offers the best-tasting, sugar-free kids drink ever made. Happy Water comes in 4 delicious flavors that you can find at local retailers and on Amazon. Each pouch contains 0 grams of sugar, 0 calories, and 0% juice. Head to happydrinks.com for more information and to purchase Happy Water. That's HAPI drinks.com. Live happy, be happy, drink happy.
State of the Frogs continues right now. We dive a little deeper in. We try to get to know one of the TCU players or some of the staff members, things like that. And we got one of the guys who has made a huge impact on this year's team already. Gerry Christopher's here, man. How are you?
Blessed.
Good.
Blessed.
Good to see you, man.
Good to be here. Thank you for
Yeah,
having
it makes me feel good when Gary's here. So, hey, let's dive into a couple of different things. One is I got to know about one thing before we get into your background.
Listen.
I see these guys running around with the catapult vests on and things. What is catapult, man? I know that's your baby.
Yeah, that's a long-winded question. But Catapult is an athlete monitoring system, which kind of pretty much just tells us the guy's complete total workload, right? So we're able to see a number of metrics from a fatigue management standpoint, injury prevention tool. We want to just see what our guys are doing at all points in times when they step foot on the court. So we're able to see how many times they change direction, right versus left, how many times they're making explosive effort, jump, whatever it might be, and that's kind of formulate into an algorithm, which kind of helps us understand, okay, on certain days, where's a guy? Is he in a fatigue state? Is he in a ready state? Whatever it is, again, just trying to protect our investment.
Yeah, I was going to say, is it also a case where you can look at those numbers and say, hey, we're overworking him right now? Do you do that?
Correct.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Or we're underworking. This guy needs to work a little bit harder.
Correct.
Can you tell what kind of effort they're giving?
Absolutely.
Really? I wouldn't want to wear one of those things. You'd be calling me out all the time.
And they're smart enough to understand that as well.
Exactly. But this is all part of the all-encompassing wellness, right? That you're tracking, because you're not only just worried about their effort and how hard they're running, but you're worried about sleep and nutrition and the mental aspect as well, aren't you?
Absolutely. Holistic approach, of course.
Give me some sense of what you've instilled as far as nutrition is concerned. What's been different here?
The biggest thing I think for any hoops program is just the education piece. Guys typically don't know what it means to truly fuel yourself for performance. There's a common misconception in our society that nutrition only means green this, green that, healthy this, healthy that, and that doesn't mean that for our guys, if you will. Nutrition just means, again, understanding timing, spacing, when to put substances in your body to help, again, your output. And I think that's the biggest kicker for our guys. And of course, hydration being a big kicker as well. Like, guys coming from the high school level, so used to juice and fruit this and sugar sugar that. And there's a time and a place for that. But having our guys really understand that electrolytes and water around the clock is what you need to help, again, fuel yourself. Performance is big.
And sometimes you have to force them to eat, right? I mean, you think about it. I mean, you're making sure they're getting enough fuel at times, right?
Absolutely. That's always the hard part.
Is it really?
Absolutely. Some guys just typically, they're accustomed to, especially post-practice. Guys may not necessarily have a heavy appetite, so they just want to hydrate. But again, hydrate on the wrong things. So again, educate them in that piece, but just having them understand you have to put substances in your body. It's the fuel. Right? When we talk about fuel in the car, we understand that analogy, but understanding that in order for you to give us your best, for you to give your best, you have to continuously input into your body.
Are you tracking their weight daily?
Absolutely.
Really?
Absolutely.
Yeah. And so if a guy's a little bit underweight, or you're going to say, hey, you got to get another protein shake or something like that?
We're having heavy conversations. Yes,
I like
to
that.
say the least.
You know, one of the guys to me that stands out in that, a guy whose body changed since you got here is Chuck O'Bannon. Chuck O'Bannon looks like a different kind of player. I think it's made him a different player, too. Absolutely. He feels like he's more confident defensively. We've seen him, he's getting up higher, he's blocking shots, things of that nature. Give me some sense. Let's use him as an example about what that program's been like for him.
Great example. So when guys come in, we usually categorize them in one of three categories, okay, in terms of our nutritional profile, which also in turn, we will kind of back that along with our strength training program. So in the case of Chuck, he came into the category of being maintained. So you're either in lean, maintain, or gain category, one of those three parameters. For him, it wasn't necessarily we need to change his weight, for instance, but more so body composition was a big kicker, because we wanted him to move a little bit more athletically, be more agile, especially in the lateral stance, but also get some of that baby fat off of him. And so for him, it was more so, okay, hydrating around the clock. He's a heavy sweater, very heavy sweater. If you ever notice Chuck, he sweats a ton. So for him, hydrating a ton, which means stepping on the Gatorade scale to understand after practice how much you actually need to put into your system, right? Whether that's 2 or 3 bottles, we got to do it. But for him, again, DoorDash is his favorite. So we had to talk about DoorDash a little bit and when, because there's a time and a place for everything, when and when you cannot. have some DoorDash.
It makes sense, man. You've been around some great programs. You think about your history. You've been at Purdue. Yeah. You've been at Pittsburgh. Yeah. You've been at San Diego State. I mean, we're talking about programs that have excelled at a high level. Yeah. From a basketball perspective, how is this different?
Oh man, and this league is tough. This is probably the toughest league that I've ever been in. The ACC was a very skilled league at the time when I was in, but every night you have to sit down and guard. So the physicality required in this game and this conference is far superior than any other conference I've ever been in.
Yeah, you know, the one thing that Coach Dixon talked about when he was in the search, I remember we talked in the off season when he was trying to find a strength coach, and he said, there's one guy that I want, I just don't know if I can get him. And that was you. How did he convince you to come here?
Man, that's a long-winded question as well. But understanding his vision and sitting down and talking to him and understanding how everywhere he's been, he's impacted the program. He's a true savant of the game, which I love it. But also he's a winner and he cares about the kids, which is my main and primary focus is the well-being of our student athletes. And so understanding that, understanding how highly decorated our staff is and where they've come from, and then just seeing the university itself, understanding Jeremiah's vision and how progressive he is in his thinking in terms of our student athletes. All of that culminated to it just felt right.
You know, here's the thing about Gerry that's different. You're not just a strength coach. I mean, you're a former basketball player.
Absolutely.
I mean, you
Believe
dig
it or not.
you dig the game. You played at LeTourneau and at Baylor. I mean, you like the game itself too, right?
Love the game. It's my first love, if you will. Yeah. Been blessed and fortunate to be around it and even play at a high level. So it means a little bit more to me.
Yeah, I like it. What are you into outside of basketball?
Oh man, I'm a father.
Yes, that's it. Well,
I'm a father.
That's full time, baby.
Absolutely. So when I leave work, I go home to work.
Right. So. Yeah, that's cool, man. That's awesome. So I want to go back to those three real quick. So there's lean, there's maintain,
absolutely,
and then there's gain.
Yep.
Okay. And then you used that phrase baby fat earlier on too. Yeah. Can you have baby fat at 53? I'm just curious.
Absolutely.
I'm going to use it.
Absolutely.
It's just baby fat.
That is your excuse.
Yeah, yes. It's just baby fat. Coming up on State of the Frogs, we're going to dive a little deeper into the next two opponents for the Horned Frogs, West Virginia and Oklahoma State, when the head coach, Jamie Dixon, joins us. Thanks to Gerry Christopher for stopping by. State of the Frogs continues after this.
Appreciate you.
Yeah, man.
Dave's Hot Chicken is a cult favorite and now has 2 locations in Fort Worth, Bryant Irvin Road on I-20 and Berry Street at TCU, both owned and operated by Horned Frogs. Mention the Frogs Today show and get 10% off anytime and order online at daveshotchicken.com. Say hello to the water of tomorrow. Richard's Rainwater. Richard's Rainwater is 100% rain, refreshing, renewable, and the only ingredient we use in our water. Why rain? Because everyone deserves access to clean water, and rain is a 100% renewable resource available everywhere. Drink the rain. Save the planet. Shop now at richardsrainwater.com.
The winter sun. It's a ticking clock, where shorter days mean a precious countdown has begun. So chase the sun and seize the season, because when the days are at their shortest, it's on us to make them the fullest.
Get 3.99% APR for 60 months on most 2023 Cadillac models. Visit your Metroplex Cadillac dealers today for this attractive offer.
The Flying T Club provides the everyday TCU fan and alum the ability to specifically support TCU student athletes. Flying T Club offers 3 levels of memberships. The Flying T Club is a nonprofit organization supporting the brand development of TCU student athletes through a series of unique event-based networking opportunities, which are exclusive to our members. These events provide a great social engagement tool for our members and student athletes alike. Follow them on Instagram at Flying T Club or online at flyingtclub.com.
Back with more State of the Frogs here now with the head coach of the Horned Frogs, Jamie Dixon. Tonight, you got West Virginia in town. This was a tough one on the road for TCU. They're playing their best basketball of the year, though. They've won 3 of the last 4.
Yeah, no, they had a great win against Auburn in the SEC Challenge. It was certainly a good start for them, again, similar to what they got against us out there, and came close to game down the stretch. And so we've got to get off to a good start, and we understand that. But they're a team that's big, they're physical, they're old. old returning guys. They haven't had a guy transfer back, and Matthews, who's a really good, valuable player for them. So, I mean, I think I say that about every team in the conference. I mean, good, old, and experienced, and an NCAA tournament team. But I'm not lying. I'm not making this stuff up.
Yeah, the one thing that we have seen out of Bob Huggins' team this year, they're maybe a little deeper than folks thought they were going to be.
He's always interesting because he'll not play some guys, and all of a sudden he'll play some guys, and all of a sudden he's playing 12 guys in the first half.
Yeah.
And he's done that a lot. They change a little bit of defenses, a little bit more, and they'll run the sets. You've seen them all for years, but they have a lot of them, and it's generally to get the ball inside. Their guards are streaky. Stevens had a big game against Auburn, and it just broke it open. So we can't let the guards get going. The guards hurt us. I mean, the big scored. He got to the foul line, but it was the guards that beat us off the dribble, and we've got to do a better job with that.
Trey Mitchell's another talented player. I got a couple.
Yeah, another old guy that's been on 3 different schools and played a lot of minutes.
Yeah.
And, that's why the basketball is so good in this league, and I think across the country, because you've got guys that have played 30, 40 minutes a game for 4 years, whether it be a low major, mid major, or a high major program, and now they're all gathering up in one league.
The one thing that happened in that game in Morgantown, and we know how physical West Virginia's teams are, but you got in foul trouble early. Flip the script.
And then the guards got in foul trouble, which is unique, and you certainly check things you don't want to have. As we got about all those in that first 10 minutes. It was 8-1 in fouls, and the guards had 2 and 2, and just it changed everything. But we battled back through some really challenging circumstances and had possession, and it was a 2-point game, and we just it got saved. But we can't put ourselves in that position where we got to be perfect down the stretch.
Right. Then you got to go to Stillwater on Saturday, and I know you haven't had a chance to really glance, and I know you focused in on West Virginia. But Oklahoma State is a team that's proven they can play in big games, and they've had some success this year.
Oh yeah, I mean these teams, everybody's going to beat somebody in this league, and somebody good. When I say that, because every team is good, every team is old, every team is experienced, every team is a home court. All these things make this league so good, so strong, and as good as any conference in the country in years. I mean, like it's that good, and trust me, I've seen the best, and it is. It's amazing how it is so strong top to bottom, and we're 10 NCAA tournament teams that won't be allowed to have 10 NCAA tournament teams. This is how it is, and it's so hard to make the tournament. I mean, like it's about 15% of the NCAA teams make the tournament. That's how hard it is, and it's a challenge. And our league makes it even more challenging.
Right. You think about it, even the SEC guys that we saw in Starkville were talking about the Big 12. The fact that you get to play each other. We talk about that 2 times, but top to bottom. But how deep this league is. They knew going into that.
They did, and we obviously we came up short in our deal, and obviously we had some challenges with the 3 guys, and they must have been jumping up and joy at Mississippi State to see that. But they're a good team, and we've got good ones, and everybody. Maybe it's getting there. I know next year they'll write an article about the new best conference in the country at the start of the year, and everybody will write that one. And
and it won't be the Big 12.
And it won't be the Big 12. And then January they'll go, well, I guess something happened. But someone's got to write that first story and be ahead of the curve.
All right, so you got tonight against West Virginia, though. The importance here, I know the weather's going to be a little bit iffy for a lot of folks, but you need a big crowd.
We got to get the students out there, and if guys can't travel, if the fans aren't going to be able to drive in from Dallas or wherever they're coming from, then let's get all the students in there and just pack it, come over and make a party. It kind of reminded me, I was thinking about it, we had a big Saturday game day, first one ever. It was at Connecticut. Huge blizzard, snowstorm. We were there. We actually had to change our hotel and go right next to this motel, right next to Connecticut's home field and home court. And it was a motel. It was that good. And they just had the students come. So there was 10,000 just students. In the loudest arena I've ever been in. 10,000 students. They just said, let all the students in. So
let's do it.
Let's do it
here. By the way, I got a little nugget for you from Stephen Schoen, who's our media relations director. You may not know this, the Horned Frogs coming up on Tuesday night. You've got the Hope Farm Boys Choir singing the national anthem.
Yeah, right.
TCU's undefeated.
Yeah, they're right.
Yeah,
Undefeated.
when they're here. So
well, they're quite. That's quite an establishment there.
Exactly. All right. Thanks for
They do
joining
a lot
us
of good
here.
work.
Yeah, they do. Good job here tonight from Coach Jamie Dixon. Frogs get set now for West Virginia coming up on Tuesday night. Obviously here tonight for that one. Then Oklahoma State on Saturday. We'll be back here with highlights of both of those ball games next week when we continue with State of the Frogs. For the head coach Jamie Dixon, I'm Brian Estridge. Thanks for joining us. Have a great week.
Roxo Media House.